to me, that's like mindfulness, like mindfulness, being aware, being in the present moment, not living in the past and not living in the future, because so many people are either stuck in the past or worried about the future.
Hey everyone. So we already know how many people feel stuck in the limitations of conventional medicine, and that's exactly why I created Holistic Health with Melissa, to take you on a journey from conventional to crunchy. Here you'll get empowering wellness insights, practical tips, and faith-centered strategies to help you feel your absolute best. In each episode, we'll dig into what true health and wellness really means. We'll dive into nutrition, lifestyle, mindset, and detox, all things so important to your health. And we'll chat about raising kids with intention and living life of faith. So join me to reclaim your energy, embrace your healthiest life, and find joy and purpose along the way.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Holistic Health with Melissa. I'm so happy that you're here. We have a guest speaker today, Anthony Dahya. I am so excited for you to hear his story because it is powerful. We've spoken a few times and I'm just really excited for you to hear his story. So Anthony Dahya is a dedicated coach, speaker, and thought leader with a mission to empower individuals to unlock their true potential and live with unshakable confidence. As the founder of Anthony Dahya Coaching and Consulting and the Champion Mindset brand, he guides professionals to break through personal challenges, build deep self-worth, and step into their fullest capabilities. Driven by a purpose to inspire change, Anthony combines his extensive personal development journey with a profound belief in the power of resilience. Through his podcast and coaching, he motivates others to transform their lives, rewriting past limitations to become who they were truly meant to be. A father to his beloved daughter, Olivia, Anthony finds joy in music, nature, and the present moment, living by the wisdom of Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. The past and future are only ever the present moment. Anthony believes that together we can raise consciousness one inspired life at a time. Anthony, I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you for the opportunity to come and join in your podcast.
Yeah, I have been on your podcast. We've talked a couple times and we have a lot in common, just kind of with, very different stories, right? But lots of trauma and grief and self-development. And now we're both like on a mission to help other people. So it made perfect sense to have you on my podcast. I'd love for you, I know this is kind of like a big opening question, kind of how I usually start, since this is kind of the gist, and what I do is just like, I'll just open the floor to you and just let you start wherever you want and just kind of share your story and how you got where you are now.
Yeah, well, I think it's probably best to start at the beginning and get some context, right? So
Yeah.
I was 5 years old. I was born here in New Zealand, and at 5 years of age, through some family circumstances, my parents separated, and then I got sent to India to an ashram, a boarding school, and it was very regimented, and it was almost like army and prison camp in one. There was barbed wire fences. You went out, and yeah, it was. I remember the day I got dropped off. I was quite a happy little child, going, "Hey, what's this? I'm going to embrace this." But then a few days, I suppose, as the weeks went past, I was like, "Is anyone coming back to get me again?" I thought that someone was coming back, but no. For 6 years, I was in that ashram in boarding school, and that. I went through sexual abuse where other students abused me sexually, and it wasn't a good time. And a lot of that conditioning within that in the boarding school left me feeling abandoned and rejected, and that's kind of how I felt, Now, we say that we make up a story, and it is, our thoughts and our current reality, we create a story about who we are, what our identity is, and what's happened to us. So for me, that was a story around feeling rejected and abandoned. And that kind of played out in my life for the next 30 to 40 years. At the age of, like, in my teenage years, I was told I was useless. I'd never amount to anything. And I wanted to just kill myself. I just wanted to end it. And um, then, and it was really, really tough. And then I joined the church, became a Christian, and started going to church. And that helped me really gain back my confidence in myself and who I was as a human being. But one thing that kept playing out the pattern was in my relationships and work. So I've been through 24 restructures in my career, corporate world, and I've been through 4 redundancies. And every time I went through a restructure, it was like I was back at my 7-year-old self in that ashram boarding school. So, I kept reliving those moments. It was like Groundhog Day. And so for me, things needed to change. And I think it was the age of 26 where I started to really go on this journey of self-development. And without actually paying any attention to it, I was just doing the best I could to be the best version I could be of myself. And it's only I would say in the last 10 years when my daughter Olivia was born, it changes you as a person. As a dad, you start taking more notice of people around you and your actions, and so I went on this journey, and then I always wanted to help others, so I went down the coaching journey as well, and of course the podcast, which it's started in November 23 and 2023, and it's just over a year now. I've been doing this podcast called the Champion Mindset Collective, and I've had some amazing shifts in my life in terms of who I was and who I am now. Yeah.
So cool. So cool to hear like where you came from and where you are now. And I know like how all the great things that you're doing right now. So it's just like you would never expect it from that you were in a boarding school all those years and had so much trauma and abuse, and look at you now. Like that's so cool. What do you think was like, talk us through what that was like, that realization of like nobody's coming to get me, and those next few years of being in that environment and developing those feelings of abandonment and rejection. Were you acting out? Were you doing well in school? I imagine not. Did you feel like you had any hope at all ever in life?
No, I think for me in the boarding school, I wasn't doing well at school. I was definitely playing up. I was a very angry kid, so a lot of anger built up because I didn't have that love of my mum. I saw my mum. So the last time I saw my mum was when I was 5 years old, and then and then later in life I was 21 when I saw my mother. So I really never had that motherly love and the connection with her. So you can imagine how I would have felt then, really feeling like not loved, no affection in my life. So for me, I was doing exactly the same thing. I was being angry. I remember stabbing a kid through his hand in the table at the age of 10 because he was annoying me with a compass, and these are kind of things that happened became a very angry child, and that carried into
Yeah.
my teenage years as well, until I
Yeah.
joined the church and started to change myself. Um, so yeah, school wise, I wasn't really uh, doing well, wasn't connected. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I bet.
and I think I would have felt really low as myself, and a low view of myself, who I was, low self-worth, no self-esteem.
Sure.
Yeah.
So like coming from that place, and I know that you say you joined the church and found God and that kind of
Mm.
helped you, but like do you feel like that was the most integral like piece, or how did you deal? I think back like to all those feelings of anger and rejection and all of those feelings, like how did you even deal with all of that?
Yeah, well, uh, like I said, I didn't deal very well because all I wanted to do was end it, right? But then I remember waking up one morning, and for some reason I just started crying out to Jesus, and going, because I was one of my best mates from school was a Christian, and I used to hang out with him, and he used to go to youth camps and so on. So one day I just woke up and just started crying out to Jesus, and then
Mm.
started, as I was spending more time with my friend and his family, and going to these youth camps, things started to change. But before that, on my own, I wasn't coping very well at all. I was very close to becoming homeless and ending up on the streets. Um, and at the age of 16, my best mate's mum took me into her house and treated me like one of her children. Now, I was the only brown boy of the family. They were Kiwis. They were Europeans. Um, so I spent about, from I think the age of 16 to about 25 with them. And when I in the church environment, I became a singer in the worship team, eventually a worship leader, a youth leader, and so I was able to learn a lot more skills, how to be better as a human being, and how to um, let go of some of that hurt. But one thing I noticed was that I really never really healed within the church environment from my trauma. Maybe I did things to maybe mask what was going on, but I never really healed, right? It's only when I've been on this journey on my own, and I did end up leaving the church at the age of 30, 32, I think I was, and for a long time I was like, just seeking a relationship. I was desperate to be in a relationship because I just wanted that love. But every time I got into a relationship or started dating, it just wouldn't work out because my energy was of desperation, and um, so for me it was really coming to that conclusion that something has to change here. I can't keep doing the same things because I'm just getting the same result.
Yeah.
And then,
Definition
as
of
I mentioned,
insanity, right?
exactly, as Einstein said, even in the workplace, it mirrored in the workplace as well, where I had anger, and I was very black and white. Like, no, you come to work, you do your job, you go home, that kind of stuff. And I remember talking to a guy who's now a CEO of a company, and he was lazy, and I was like, why do you come to work? And giving him the kind of like the third degree, and um, I'm hoping that I had a hand in actually helping him change his life to become where he is today. But for me, um, I remember a workmate of mine, an older guy, said to me, "Wait till you have your child, you will completely change as a human being." And he was bang on. He was so right. As soon as my daughter was born, my whole life changed, and I started to change myself to be
Mm.
the better version, to be a better human being, to be a better father, And I think that's been the blessing. But over the last 10 years, I've done a lot of self-development and also a lot of work on healing through that trauma.
Yeah.
I've been to a counselor maybe once or twice, but I've never been to a therapist. And when I have gone to coaches, they've said to me, well, you've got the awareness, so, just got to do the work. And so over the last 2 years, I've done a lot of work. And I remember early last year, sitting for 12 weeks in my discomfort, doing the shadow work, really working through all of the stuff that was happening. And as Eckhart Tolle says in The Power of Now, you've got to sit in that silence, and let the chatter, let the thoughts just pass, and connect with your body, connect with your heart. And when you connect with your heart, that's when the true answers come. I didn't know this, but apparently the heart is the first organ that's formed, and the heart actually also has its own brain. And so, I've just learned recently that when you move away from your thoughts into your heart and let the heart brain get in coherence with your head brain, then that's when magic starts to happen and things start to happen in your life.
That is
So yeah,
so
it's
powerful.
been, yeah. But I think the key thing is, for me, is to become conscious of the way I'm living my life. Right? We are so on automatic. The subconscious mind does a lot of the stuff for us. But when you start becoming conscious of your actions and what you're saying, what you're doing, your languaging, and then you connect with your body and your heart, that's when, and you spend that time really understanding what's going on, and then you start to make changes. And we shift every day, right? Every day we are shifting identities. In fact, every second we are learning something new, and we are shifting identities. And we are who we identify with. And if our identification of us is based on our past life, then we're gonna remain in that revolution. We're just gonna keep revolving and being that person. So the question is, do you want to revolve, or do you want to evolve into the human being that you're destined to be?
Yeah, so good. How was there like a moment in time? I don't know, maybe your daughter's birth, maybe you might have kind of answered this already, but was there a moment in time where all of a sudden you kind of like connected the dots? You said you've been through 24 restructures and 4 redundancies, like, and you all kind of like realized every time that happened, that you were back at your 7-year-old self. Like, was there something that happened where you're like, this is the moment, you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm 7 again, and I'm seeing these patterns just repeat now?
Yeah, it was. I heard Dr. Joe Dispenza talk about this on a podcast with Lewis Howes. He was saying that,
Yes.
as Dr. Gabamata says, that the situation was traumatic. But when we hold on to that feeling, that's what we call trauma. That emotion, that's what we call trauma, right? So what Dr. Joe Dispenza was saying is that, when are you going to let go of that story? When are you going to let go of that emotion attached to that story, which is in the past? That you are not that person anymore. Because if we're shifting identities every day, we're not who we think we are, if we're continuing to hold on to that story. And our thoughts aren't real, because they are based on the perspective of our experiences from the past. So I came to the realization that the restructuring I was going through, the relationships that are going anywhere, was all due to because I was still stuck in that story and identifying myself as that past person. Now, when you spend time in your body and letting your thoughts pass and really connecting with your heart and who you are. And then you start to think about the future self of who you want to become. And then you start changing yourself
Yes.
when the magic happens, right?
Yes.
So for me, it was about, if nothing changes, nothing changes.
Mm-hmm.
Change has to happen to become the new version of myself. And I need to identify, for me to be that person, I've got to identify with my future self, not in this present moment. And so that for me has been the key learning, is that live each day in this present moment, identify, let go. So the key to that is acceptance of what happened. It wasn't your fault. Accept it with whatever the situation was, it happened. Forgive yourself and forgive the people that are in your life that maybe were part of that experience. It wasn't their fault either, but it was, maybe they were part of that experience. And then let go of that story that you're holding on to. Once we do that, and we start then rewriting our story in the present moment of the future self, that's when you become free. Because if you think about it, every human being wants is freedom. All of us desire freedom in every area of our life,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
We may call it something else. I want this, I want that, but really, I want freedom in life. I want freedom in finances. I want freedom in relationship. And yeah. So we've got to choose who we identify as today.
Yeah.
Do we still identify as that 7-year-old self, or do I
Yeah.
identify as my current self?
Yeah.
And
So many people are stuck. I was actually just having a conversation with a colleague this morning about this, that so many people are, like, you've touched on it a lot, like becoming conscious of your thoughts, spending time with yourself, connecting to your heart brain, all those things. Like, to me, and I'll ask you what your perception of it is here in a second, but to me, that's like mindfulness. Like mindfulness, being aware, being in the present moment, not living in the past and not living in the future, because so many people are either stuck in the past or worried about the future. And what you're describing about the future, I think, is a beautiful thing. It's different than like worried about the future. It's more of like a visualization of the future and the possibility. It's more of like a good thing and is able to push you to be better. But do you agree? Do you think that that's that big piece of it is like being mindful?
a big part of it is mindfulness, but
Yeah.
also being intentional about
Sure.
who you want to be today and who you want to become tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Eckhart Tolle says in The Power of Now, we only ever have the present moment. The past was a present moment. Today is a present moment. Tomorrow will be a present moment. So if we only ever have the present moment, then once this day is over, in fact, even as I'm talking, the second has gone by and it's gone. And then,
Yeah.
the moment has
Not the
changed,
present
right?
anymore. Yeah.
So if we keep going back to that few seconds ago, then you're kind of like living Groundhog Day, right? You're waking up and you're doing the same thing over and over again. Whereas if you, every moment, live it to the fullest, every moment, and let it go, right? And be intentional about who you are today, but also who you are becoming tomorrow, who you want to become tomorrow. Now, fear is something that is fundamental to what a lot of people why they get stuck, because the thing with our subconscious mind is that it loves familiarity, right? It loves the familiar feeling and so on. So if we hold on to the familiarity, then we can't shift into the person that we are destined to be. So we've got to treat fear as a friend who's delivering a message, giving you some feedback and saying, hey, be conscious of this, because this is what's going on. And when we really become conscious of what the fear is telling us, because fear is in a comfort zone, whether it's from the past or whether it's future fear, anxiety is only fear of the future, right? So when we expand ourselves out of a comfort zone, then we shift identities. Now, one thing I want to say is that life is about expansion. It's about learning, it's about growing, it's about personal growth, it's about becoming the person that you have always dreamed to become. When you set goals are usually for the future, right? But one thing I've been reading about lately, and I just did an episode called The Gap in the Game. So we often get fearful of the future because we compare ourselves to someone else, or we stay in the gap. The gap is basically feeling unhappy about where you are in this present moment, because you're measuring yourself to your future ideal, right? And so we don't need to do that. What we can do is choose to look back and see how far we've come. Look at the wins that we've had. So the key to doing that is to celebrate every single win that you make. And it doesn't matter how small, because that will give you motivation and it'll give you confidence in yourself. So really, what I would say is that anyone who's in this space, let go of that story, because it's not serving you. How long are you going to hold on to that story of what happened in the past? Forgive yourself for staying stuck in that story, and forgive the others who were involved in that, whatever the situation was. Let go of that and free yourself and become the person. Change your identity to a different person.
Yeah.
Now, and a lot of the meditations that Dr. Joe Dispenza does, people do these
so
7-day
powerful
meditations.
Yeah.
And they have disassociated themselves from that past person. People have come and they've healed through cancer and healed people that couldn't see now can see, because what they've done is, while they've been in that meditative state, in that mindfulness state, what they've done is they've been conscious of what's happening, and they've observed what's going on, right? And then they've disassociated themselves with their past selves and step into their future selves. One of the most powerful things you can do is, when you're doing meditation or prayer, is to zoom out from your body, right? And zoom out and observe yourself. When you observe yourself, you can see all the things that you're doing, and then you can ask yourself, is this serving me?
Yeah.
If not, do I give myself permission to change
To let
this,
it go.
make a choice to let it go? Yeah.
So good. When you say
Yeah.
becoming conscious of your thoughts, what are that's such, I feel like for some people are like, I am conscious of my thoughts, and they're still not conscious of 95% of their thoughts. What do you think is what would be your recommendation if somebody's like, how do I do that? Or if somebody's like, don't even know the first place to start.
Well, first of all, as I said before, practice mindfulness, meditation, connecting with nature is another great way, because you want to get yourself away from where you are in your environment, and you want to get yourself into Mother Nature, and you want to connect with something that's bigger than you, right? Because when we focus on ourselves, we just stay stuck in it. So when you focus on something bigger, like God, Mother Nature, so I go for a walk to the beach and I do walking meditation. Now, one of the other things in cognitive behavior therapy, they use this method called the 3 C's, which is catch your thought, check your thought, and change your thought. I really like this modality, because at every given moment of your life, you can catch a thought, you can check it and see whether it's true, whether it's serving you. And if it's not, then you can change that thought in that moment and move forward, right? Now, journaling is another way, is write down every day before you go to bed, what are the things that went on for you? What were the patterns that what was going on for you? Write down 3 things that you're grateful for and ask your subconscious mind 3 questions that you want answers to. And so what happens is over time, you can look back and see if there's a pattern repeating. And that then gives you some consciousness around, hey, I keep doing this thing, which is why I keep getting this result. So if I seek some help or if I change this, then I'm going to get a different result.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Love that. If you like looking back and thinking about all of those restructures and, you know, when you're going through those things and you suddenly realize, like, I feel like I'm 7 years old again every time I go through all of this. From that point until now, if you had to pick like the top couple, 1, 2, 3, either like things that you did, books that you read, things that you let go of, like what would be the top, whatever you can choose, like however many, the top things that you did or read or saw or perspective shifts?
So I think I would say that going through those uncomfortable moments through the redundancies really and restructures really helped me build resilience.
Mm.
Right. And I remember the first redundancy, I cried my eyes out. Second redundancy, I was angry. The third redundancy, I was going, oh, what are the opportunities? And the fourth redundancy, I was like, why do I keep going through this? And then come to the realization that something has to change here. So if you look back at that and the journey that I went on, I had to make changes to shift my mindset around, because first redundancy, I'd never been through this before, and I just bawled my eyes out.
Mm-hmm.
So it was being conscious and then being able to go, hey, if you keep behaving this way, then you're going to keep getting the same result. Reading books. So I think I started with podcasts probably back in 2021, 2020. Oh no, it was about 2019, I think it was. I started listening to podcasts and then started to read books. And now I'm kind of reading books almost, like I'm not a fast reader, but I try and read a book within a few weeks. My girlfriend, on the other hand, can read a book in a day. And and I just recently did an episode around 3 books and the insights I got out of 3 books that I read recently. Cool. And I'm doing a series of this. So if you want to listen to it, go to the Champion Mindset Collective podcast. Follow, subscribe, but also listen to that episode because and it talks all about the gap and the gain, which what I was talking about before. Yeah. So I think reading podcast, listening to podcasts, even running my own podcast, I've learned so much from talking to people like yourself on podcasts and learning about what other people have gone through and what choices they've made, what changes they've made in their life, right? So I think learning, you've got to be a lifelong learner and you've got to be open to change, I would say. Yeah, I would say those are the moments. If you are not open to change, then nothing's going to change because you've got to change for things to change.
Yeah. So much good stuff in all of what you just said. We definitely agree on pretty much everything. I say all the same things. Like, I just want this world to just, oh boy, heal and just come into like peace and surrender and groundedness, like within within ourselves, and the world would be just such a better place.
Yeah. You see, Melissa, there's a saying, you've probably heard of this before. It's called, when you feel it, you heal it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
We've been taught not to
To
feel our
stuff it down.
emotions,
Yeah.
to stuff it down, to suppress it, right? When you
Yeah.
suppress it, it just keeps coming, it will just keep coming back up.
Yep.
And that's what the shadow work is working through
Yeah.
those repressed feelings and really becoming one with it and letting it go. And
Yeah.
so remember, I said I had to sit through 12 weeks of my discomfort
Yeah.
and really get comfortable with my discomfort.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm going through some challenges at the moment, and I'm again doing the same thing. It's like life is a roller coaster. It will go up and down to the side. It's not linear. And so you've just got to keep going. Like when with fear, for example, when you come to a speed bump on the road, you don't stop and freak out and go, oh, I can't do this. You drive
Yeah.
over it. If you're running a hurdle race, you jump over the hurdle. And so life is exactly the same, is that when you come to a, a moment where a situation, you've got to take that courage and be brave and feel into that fear and feel into the emotion and feel into whatever's going for you and be present with it. And once
Yeah.
you become comfortable with it, you can let go of it, because the more you avoid something, the more it will stick around. Whatever you resist will persist in your life.
Yeah. Whatever you resist, it will persist. Yep.
Yeah.
I've heard too, if you don't heal what hurts you, you'll bleed on those who don't cut you,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is
And
basically,
one other thing I'd like to say is that everything we are made of energy, and the energy that we put out, people can sense that, people can feel it. So when we put out energy, we've got to make sure that the energy that we're putting out is good energy, because it's just going to mirror back to you.
mm,
And they also say that broken people attract broken people. So
yep.
if you keep going through relationships where it's not working out, it's because there's work that you need to do, because all that person is doing is mirroring back and giving you feedback on the things that
Yeah.
you've got to work on. And
Yeah.
it's making a choice, choosing yourself, choose yourself, give yourself permission to do that and change your life. So the only thing we need to look back in the past is to see how far we've come. If you're Tony Robbins says, if you're looking behind in the rearview mirror driving your car, you're living in the past. Also, you're likely to crash, right? So,
Yeah.
and then don't look too far ahead, because you don't know what's around the corner. So the key is to stay present and stay in the present moment. And
Yeah.
if you're okay in the present moment, then you've got nothing to worry about.
So good. I want to just, I know we got to wrap up here in a second, but I wanted to just bring back, you said you're going through some stuff right now, and you're kind of doing the same stuff that you were doing, back before. And I just wanted to highlight that, because I hear that from people all the time. Like if I, share with somebody like, yeah, I'm going through, I just came out of like a really tough season. This past like summer and fall was just absolutely, it was very tough. We had a lot of family stuff and work stuff, and it was just very, very stressful. And I had mentioned to people, and I have had multiple people in different seasons say to me things like, wow, like what, like you're struggling, like I didn't think that you would be struggling. And I'm like, wait a second, like I'm still human. Hi, I'm Melissa, and I'm human. And healing, health, it's not a destination, it's a journey. So like you just learn, no matter how much healing you've done, no matter how evolved you become, like life still happens, things are still stressful. You just learn the tools to cope better, and you don't fall so far. But things are still stressful and difficult, even in the most present and
Yeah.
mindful person.
So that every time something happens or time you feel uncomfortable, lean in,
Yes.
lean into it, right?
Yes.
Because the answers are on the other side of that comfort zone.
Yes.
Your dreams go to die in your comfort zone. So if you want to achieve and fulfill your dreams and your potential,
Yes.
then keep expanding your comfort zone, right? A little bit at a time. You don't have to make massive action. You just got to take 1% action every day. And
Yeah.
that compounds to 365% in a year. So if you commit to yourself and you give yourself permission for 1 year to do work on yourself, I guarantee you in the end of the year, you will be a completely different human being.
1% every day compounds to 365%. That's fantastic. What a
You got to get conscious. You got to be conscious of what are you doing in each moment, in each minute, each hour, each day. What are you doing, and are those things serving you or moving you forward, or are they keeping you held back?
Yeah. Anthony, you are just full of good advice. What if somebody wants to like follow you or get in touch with you, find your podcast, tell us all the ways we can find you.
Yes, I'm on all of the social medias. Anthony Dahya. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I've now been posting all my YouTube videos on there as well. So Anthony Dahya. Champion Mindset Collective podcast is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts. And also, as I said before, you can find those podcast episodes on YouTube as well. So please help me spread this message, because I really want to help change the world. I can't do this on my own. That's why it's the collective. You know, we all have a part to play in this. I'm huge about collaborating and working together. And so please share the episodes with your friends, your family, whoever can benefit from it. Follow, subscribe, and write a comment. Share the podcast on your social media. Tag me and send me a friend invite. I'm always happy to connect with people. And if you want to jump on my podcast, get in contact.
Yeah, everyone go follow Anthony. He has so much good stuff to share. Listen to the Champion Mindset Collective podcast. It's so, so good. He has so many episodes. Just go binge it all. Thanks again, Anthony. And tune in next time to Holistic Health with Melissa. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Melissa.
Mama, it is time to stop surviving and start truly healing. Join me for the Mind, Body, Spirit Healing Summit, May 1st through 3rd. It's a powerful online experience where I'll guide you through the exact tools I use to heal from trauma, regulate my nervous system, and reconnect with God's purpose for my life. If you're a Christian mom ready to release the weight of that chronic stress and step into peace, restoration, and wholeness, this summit is for you. Sign up now at holistichealthbymelissa.com and begin your healing journey today. Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to Holistic Health with Melissa. It is such an honor to have you here. If you found value in today's episode, would you share it with a friend who might need it too and leave us a review? If you have questions or topic suggestions, reach out on social media or visit our website, holistichealthbymelissa.com, and take care. I'll catch you on the next episode.